assist for Bruno Fernandes. Captain fantastic.
If I don't take that risk, then I might miss 8 or 10, but then I'm gonna get one right and we win the game by that. I just want to play as much as I can until the end of my career, because we all know it's a very short career. No, that's not it. The assist is enough, assist or goal, whatever it is.
So we know that data and stats are also important in today's football, and we know Opta have been forerunners in this since the 1990s, so who better to join us than Matt Furness from Opta, one of the experts in this field. Can you just tell us first of all how the rise of stats has been so prevalent in football in the last few years?
Yeah, it's something that's really come to the forefront of the game. When I first started Opta over 15, 16 years ago now, you would struggle to get people to talk about assists, let alone anything like expected goals, which obviously didn't exist back then, chances created, passes completed. It was purely results and goals-based things that people were interested in. But now there's a lot more interest in statistics in the game. Obviously, American sports have really helped bring that across as well into football. And people want to analyse the game a lot more now. There's a lot more interest in what is happening on the pitch and why it's happening, rather than just looking and seeing what's happening with your own eyes. So yeah, it's really come to the forefront of the game now.
And we know that back in the day, in the 90s and the 80s, assists weren't really a thing in football at all, but now everyone knows about them. Is that due to Fantasy Premier League a little bit, or is it just a case that there's more depth now to the analysis?
That has helped. I think that people naturally want to know a little bit more about the sports that they follow as well, and any more data points that they can say, oh, this player is excellent at this player is excellent at that, will help. Assist is quite an easy one to understand as well, in it's just creating a goal. So I think it's one that naturally people know a lot about. And also we have gone back and collected every assist over time in the Premier League since 92, 93 from video footage. And we're at a point now where we can say which players have assisted the most goals in Premier League history rather than since a certain date. So that is very helpful in our quest to do it as well.
We know you guys were very much behind XG and how big that is now in football, but it goes beyond that, doesn't it? Expected chances, expected assists, there's lots of this now.
Yeah, expected assists is another one that is has been out there for a while. XG has come to the forefront because it's been used on shows like Monday Night Football, Match of the Day. So it's more at the forefront of football coverage and the advanced metric use in sports. But expected assist is another one that is similar to XG in that it records the quality of a pass and how often that would have led to a goal by the average player. So it's something that probably is a bit of a more accurate representation of creativity and how creative a player is. So it's definitely something we're trying to push a little bit more as well.
And we know that data's driving everything here now at Manchester United. I mean, it is only going to get bigger, isn't it, in time? There's going to be more and more depth and more to the AI and this kind of tool being used.
That's it. And I think the important thing there is being able to contextualize that data and understand that data. There's always going to be a lot of numbers and figures out there, but it's how to use that data to your advantage is going to be key. And that's where clubs are now becoming more intelligent with their data. They've employed people within their systems and the backgrounds with recruitment, match analysis, even at training, the analysis for GPS, etc. So it's becoming a much more embedded part of the football culture, and it's something that will continue to grow, I'm sure.
Matt's here from Opta. Bruno, how much emphasis do you put on stats and how much are you across all your various statistics? I guess it's quite a lot.
No, to be honest, on my own ones, I don't really look at it. I just focus on my game and what I have to do, because I think you have to use the stats, but in a certain way. Because sometimes, if you just look at stats, it's not realistic. Let's say, like obviously numbers don't lie, but in terms of football, like let's talk about. We talk a lot. Like was a lot of conversation between through the years about me and. Let's say the accuracy of passing. But then if I miss passings trying to make something happen and by playing the ball forward, I don't mind it, because if I don't take that risk, then I might miss 8 or 10, but then I'm gonna get one right and we win the game by that. I'm gonna be happy with it. I don't mind that. Then I'm not the highest with the percentage or whatever, but obviously you want to get as high as possible, because it means that you're doing less mistakes that you want. That's what you want to do. But at the same time, I think obviously it's more to learn from your game what you can then put the stats together with the actually eye watching the game and understanding why you missed the pass or why you missed the shot or what was in between of all that.
And in terms of, Matt will explain it, but the fact you're so far clear here for chances created, Bruno's way out ahead, isn't he, Matt, in terms of the...
Yeah, this season you've created nearly 50 more chances than any other player in the Premier League. And when we go back to your debut at Man United, you can see here, this is a B-Swarm graphic, so it contains every player that's played in the Premier League since your debut. The majority of players will create under 100 chances. Here, you're miles ahead, over 200 ahead of anyone else since your debut in the Premier League. And I think it's quite interesting what you say there about risk versus reward as well. You're a player that's willing to take those risks to get the maximum reward. And we've seen criticism of certain players like yourself, or even Lionel Messi at times, where they'll have metrics like possession lost, where you've lost a lot of possession, but that's because you're taking those risks to create chances to win games, and I think that's what makes you such a special player. So we've looked back at the kind of level of chance created compared to other players and how far ahead you are of those players. And a lot of that is actually down to the fact that you play so many games and so many minutes and you're able to sustain that time on pitch. So over the last 5 or 6 seasons, since you joined United in your debut, you have played more games and played more minutes than any player in the top 5 European leagues at club level. So you've been able to sustain that. And when you did suffer a short-term injury this season, it only took you 3 games to come back. So how do you think you sustain that amount of football, and what makes you able to keep yourself at the top of the game that long?
No, I think everyone has their own way of treating themselves. You know, like you need to do. I think nowadays what's wrong, you have a lot of information how to do it, how is better, how is worse, and whatever. But I think not a lot of people do it what's the best for them. They just look at the overall picture and say like, oh, this guy does this, I should do it. Obviously, as more things you do to be ready for the games and to try to be as fit as possible, better it is. But I think you have to find what's better for you and for your for your profile as a player, for your profile as a physically wise. You don't need to always do what others are doing, but you can add that if it's in your profit and if it's good for you. Then when we speak about numbers and creating chances and all these things, as you said before, like I look at this in a way of, obviously you want to see your numbers as high as possible, but at the same time, the position I play requires that I take more risks than the other ones. And obviously when you play in a team that you probably have to be the one trying to create that more often than other players, you're going to end up missing more opportunities and more chances than the other ones. And that's normal, but that's part of the game. And it's something that you have to deal with it and deal with the criticism, deal with the good things, with the bad things in the same way. But for me is that if these numbers are helping the team and doing like the right thing for the team in the right moments, they are good numbers. If not, I have to adjust my game and try something different.
Yeah, so we've actually spotted over years at Man United, and you'll see this season that you're high up for expected assists per 90. Are you aware what expected assists are? Would you like me to explain them? So it's similar to expected goals in that it's assigning a chance quality to a pass. So how often is that pass likely to lead to an assist? So it doesn't depend on the chance being scored like an assist does. So it's showing here that you actually have one of the highest quality expected assists. Your passes are more dangerous than most players in the Premier League. And we've seen over time that that's changed, that your expected assists is rising season by season. You're becoming much more dependable as a creator than someone who gets in the box and has a lot more chances. Is that something you feel that's changed over time, where you're more of a creator than a scorer now than you were? Maybe your game's matured a little bit?
No, I think it's just about space. And I think obviously over the years, teams know you better. They don't want to allow you as much space as they probably would allow me when I first came to the club, because they didn't know me as much. Then obviously in the beginning probably I was scoring more goals than I was doing assists. So they were trying to avoid me to score goals. I have to find a way of making the team score goals in another way. So you have to find the passes, you have to find your teammates. And I think it's more in the terms of shooting, I think I've learned and I've improved a lot, because you have to always read and understand who's in the better position. And then obviously you know that you have. I know that I have a very good shot from the distance, and I know I'm very good at finish. But at the same time, I need to read who's gonna have a bigger chance of scoring a goal rather than me, and if it's the time for a shot or a time for a pass. And probably now, I think it always depends also the type of players you have ahead of you. For example, in the first few years at the club, if I was playing with Anthony Martial, is someone that's gonna end up wanting to connect a lot with me, which is gonna make me have more shots, more times into the space of getting a 1-2 with him and getting into spaces because he likes to drop, and then I can make runs in behind. Now, if I play probably with Ben, or the time I played with Rasmus, or the time I played with Cristiano and Cavani, they players that like to attack more the space, they like to be on the box, so I need to be the one a little bit deeper than them and maybe trying to make that pass or create that pass.
So this season you've created 19 chances for Matheus Cunha. That's the most of any player for another teammate in the Premier League. And that's actually your fourth most in the season at Man United. How much were the signings of Cunha and Mbeumo helped you with your chance creation? Because you've made more through balls than you ever have done in a Premier League season before.
Obviously, I think the beginning of the season, playing a little bit deeper made me have more through balls. And they were the 2-10s more or less most of the time. So when you get the balls, then that's what I speak when you play a little bit deeper, then and you have guys in front of you in between the lines. It's just about getting that ball through in the best way possible for them to get a chance of shooting or serving the other 10 or the other striker. In that time we had playing with 3 guys up front, a little bit narrow, and obviously I think that helps me to be higher on through balls and everything. And then also the difference of the players, because obviously if we look at the top 3, we have Rashi 2 times and Cristiano 1 time. Rashi is someone that likes more the ball in behind than rather into the pockets. Even if you'd also do that kind of movement, because then with his touch he could get a shot. But normally, let's say I would find more Rashi into the space. Cristiano into small runs, small diagonals behind the defenders. So it's always in behind the defenders, and then obviously through balls to Cunha. Let's say even Anthony, I think, was someone that I would always give a lot of balls in between the lines for him to control and then get past the player and shoot. Brian is more or less similar, but he also adds that running behind with him, and I think that helps a lot. But I think it's 2 players also that have an amazing finish, and helps me then get the assists, but also getting the passes between the lines that end up in a chance created.
Yeah, as we see here, these are the chances that you've created, and they're the high quality chances that you've created since Michael Carrick was named as manager. A lot of them have come on that right hand side of the box. A recent goal Casemiro scored against Leeds came from that position as well. Is that something, that position you like picking up on that right hand side of the box and floating those balls in?
I'll say that because I float a lot in that zone there. Now with Michael, he doesn't want me to be stood just in the middle. The outswing crosses are very dangerous, because obviously the in-swing is much harder for them to head the ball, because it's less power on the ball normally. It's not as easy for them to put power on the ball also when they're heading. So that's probably the reason, let's say.
Okay. We've seen a large majority of your assists this season. Quite a few of them have come from set pieces. And that's a wider trend this season in the Premier League, where set pieces have become really important. Obviously, Man United themselves have had a brilliant season from set pieces. I think it's one of the highest scoring set piece goal seasons they've had in the Premier League. Is this something that over time you have seen grow more important, the set piece preparation?
No, obviously, I think now it's more of a look at it. But I think before teams would score a lot of goals from set pieces too, but probably the preparation wasn't as big as it is now. I don't know. To be honest, we don't do as much as probably people think. We just have the space where we want to eat. We have players that are very good at heading the ball, and then it's just about the delivery being in the right space. And I think when we talk about set pieces assist, you need to take the ball into the right places in the right pace. Sometimes it's harder than actually just a pass, 5-yard pass that you probably. I have an assist for Mason against Palace that we'll consider as a set piece one.
Yeah, quick kick.
That is probably the easy one. But then I have one for Josh that is. I don't consider that as a set piece, because obviously it comes from a free kick, but the pass is not as a cross as it should be probably. But then we end up going to the corners where why we were not scoring as much last year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and now we were scoring a lot. And it just on the way we prepare the set piece, the way where we define the zones where we want to attack, the players that we want to attack that zones, and then the ball has to come with the right direction. And I think it's very hard. And I would say, like, normally I would tell you that probably 5 years ago I would go to a corner and say, put the ball in the middle of the box and let's see if someone gets it.
Yeah.
And nowadays I have to hit a spot, so sometimes it's even harder to get an assist from a set piece than it actually is in an open play. Not a beautiful one, obviously, because, for example, I'd rather have the one that I gave against Burnley for Ben. That is a ball in a tight space behind the defenders. I'd rather much that than a corner. But the way corners and the free kicks have been, and if you ask Casemiro, he always asks me and demands me where he wants the ball. It's not just I kick the ball there and wait for him to head it. He asks me where he wants the ball. Sometimes I'm going to get it right. Some others I'm not as much. But the main thing is, like I said before, in open play or not, you have to have the right ball and the right guy to finish it. Because if not, you can create as much as you want. But then if they don't put it in the back of the net, we won't count.
Yeah. Can we just ask you, Bruno, as well, you mentioned at the start there about assists and the definition, and Matt can explain why some places have you on higher assists than the number you actually have, because the FPL in particular is different.
So the Fantasy Premier League will include things like penalties won, free kicks won, and then goals scored from those situations. Shots that hit the woodwork and come back out to players to score will be counted as fantasy assists as well. Now, we collect those as fantasy assists, but the Opta definition of assist is a pass leading to a goal. Now, some of those passes sometimes will take a big deflection that would take the ball in a different path to what it would have gone from the receiver. There's always an element of, okay, yourself, you might say, well, I meant to pass it there, but our guys analysing that wouldn't see that. So we try to keep that strict definition, and we've collected them since 1992 when the Premier League began. So it's kind of one of those things where we've tried to keep consistent over time, and it's something that we've tried to stick by. But yeah, the record is up for grabs now, isn't it?
Do you disagree? Do you think you should be having more assists? Then you think some of them should?
I don't know. Well, we spoke about this. To be honest, was George that came to talk to me and said, like, you haven't made your 100 assists. I said, like, so why is Oli going all around that I did 100 assists and I had to celebrate 3 times 100 assists? But
it's better than celebrating once.
But I wasn't. I don't even know which ones they took out as known assist or not. But for example, I would give myself an assist the game against Burnley at home. For example, I think I did it more than once also, where Marcus passed me the ball. I faked it that I'm going to take it. I opened the legs for Mason Greenwood and he scores. That for me is more than an assist than some others. Because if I don't do the dummy, the defender will never come with me and then leave Mason alone. But then, as you said, like, it counts the last one that touches the ball. So
you've done a couple of them as well.
I need to start touching the ball when they go to my legs. A little touch.
I think also own goals don't count, do they, Matt? So the one James Hill's goal at Bournemouth, where the FPL would have given you the assist for the goal. That didn't count because it was an own goal. So
that shouldn't count. I agree with that.
Have you ever thought about, Matt will bring us in as well, about like the pre-assist, the assist before the assist, if that becomes a thing?
I've seen some players talking about that. Come on, let's not get the pre-assist.
Well, you're good at it.
These are the passes before a chance created. So it shows how important you are, not just in the chance creation, but the creation of the chance creation as well. So last 2 seasons you've been the top ranking player. So when you consider both those and the normal chances created, you're miles ahead of everyone else. So it shows the intelligence on the pitch and, as you say, the importance and build-up, not just of scoring goals as well. So, yeah, great numbers.
Do you think that's too far to start looking at the assist before the assist, Bruno?
No, that's not. The assist is enough. Assist or goal, whatever it is, that's what is being counting all the time. Let's count that once. If not, you're gonna have players asking for trophies for this free assist or whatever it is, secondary chances created, let's say.
I think just finally, because I know time's running out, Matt, you said about the number of games Bruno's played, and we know you love playing so much, but it's the most across the top 5 leagues, and I guess it's something you just want to keep going and keep motoring on.
Yeah, I just want to play as much as I can until the end of my career, because we all know it's a very short career, and I want to enjoy it as much as I can, because I won't be able to do it for a long period. I'm gonna make it as long as possible, but not as long as I would like to. But so for me, it's about enjoying, and if I'm in a good shape, in a good way of being helpful to the team, I will always put myself in line to play.
That's great, Bruno. Thank you.
Thank you.